Hello, friends, and welcome to Break 20, a series that pumps the brakes on life for about 20 minutes, give or take, to listen and learn from others through interviews and some good old-fashioned conversation. My name is Jason Vasquez. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the host and creator of Break 20, and I am thrilled. I'm actually beyond thrilled that you're tuning in because I've got a very special guest today, Amanda Irtz. So Amanda, thank you so much for being here.
Jason.
So those of you who don't know Amanda is a mother, an educator, an author, and host of a podcast series called Empathy, Joy, and Autism. In 2016, when she learned that her son was diagnosed with autism, Amanda she started on this journey to better understand not only just autism, but also to embrace a more empathetic approach toward autism. So a little bit of backstory. Amanda and I met when we were studying at Chapman University. And those of you who don't know where Chapman University is, it is a school located in Southern California, Orange County, California. And where we were there together about 20 plus years ago. And I have been following and admiring Amanda's journey for some time over the years. So Amanda, I know it's been, ages since we last spoke. How long do you think it's been?
Too long. And I don't want to admit how old we are, so we're going to skip that.
What do you remember most about our college years at Chapman?
Oh, our English class that I got a D in, and you got an A. And it was our major, right? So people who get a major in English shouldn't get Ds, but I got a D that year. And I just couldn't seem to impress the professor with my knowledge.
Was this Mr. Massey? I can't remember.
Yes.
Wow.
We were in English together. We were in a lot of classes together. We were such good buds. And I remember one night you took me on a night out in downtown, where was it? Downtown LA, and so much fun, such light you offer the world, and you still do.
Oh, thank you.
But we, I think we met in our English, one of our literature classes, as I recall, just
right.
Passionately involved, yet also secretly bored at the same time. So.
So this pandemic, right? I mean, it's been a little over a year. Have there been any silver linings for you during the pandemic, or what is it? Have you learned something about yourself that you didn't know before?
I love that question because it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole of, oh, this pandemic is so cruel and it ruined my life and blah, right? And you know what? It is cruel and it was hard. However, I think as human beings, we have an opportunity to rise and to make something out of something that's pretty, to be quite honest, shitty. I, during this time, obviously had a lot more on-demand mommy time, where the commute from my bedroom to the laptop computer every day was brutal. It was tougher than actually driving to my own school site every morning. So I had to adjust and had to shift the way I approached my day and my life, and really refocused on my meditation practice and how that enhanced not just who I was as a human being, but how I presented myself to the world. And during COVID, my world was my kids, right? And anyone who happened to interface with me on Zoom. So it was really important that I was involved in this practice. I also became very passionate about speaking more about the joys and the beauty and the empathy within autism that so often get overshadowed by the disability that is often associated with autism.
Yeah, so let's talk about autism for a second. Explain, what is autism?
Well, so for our listeners, by no means am I like a licensed clinical psychologist, or do I have a master's in this? I am a mom okay, MOM, with a PhD behind it, all right? And I am also a school administrator. I'm an assistant principal. I've been in education for a long time. And for me, my understanding of autism is that it is a spectrum. So everyone presents themselves on the spectrum in a very unique way. And for some people, being on the spectrum means interfacing with society in ways that that a neurotypical individual, that would be someone like me, I'm neurotypical, would think as different, or unpolite, or kind of invasive, whereas really it's their unique approach to understanding how the world works. Autism is sometimes about the sensory with the world, the way we process the senses. And so I've seen such beautiful, beautiful ways to witness this. And it's often referred to as stemming. And it's like where you move your body or you repeat something over and over again because it's your way of understanding or feeling or smelling or experiencing that moment. Autism is also connected to very intense interests. And so when I say intense interests, I mean, these are the individuals who go on to big companies like Google and Microsoft, or they're coding, or they're creating the intrinsic systems that for that software development,
Right.
because their interests are so intense, because they focus and become that expert.
Yeah.
uh, they can also become experts in music or in art or design, or in the way an elevator goes up and down, up and down. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Uh, every
My grandmother was actually sharing a little bit of a story with me just a couple days ago about a person that she used to care for, because she takes care of individuals as sort of her occupation these days. And she was sort of sharing her experience taking care of an autistic person or helping that person throughout their day. Is pretty interesting.
And I think individuals on the autism spectrum have so much to offer a world, that if we are willing to just be, and to accept the whole person, not what we want them to be, but rather who they are and what they can do for the world that we live in, we would be tremendously inspired by that. And
Yeah.
so um, I could really talk about it for more than the beginning.
Well, so you've mentioned, or at least I've read, some of your work, and you talk about embracing a more empathetic approach toward understanding autism. Was there a time when you weren't empathetic, and what inspired the change to be more empathetic, and what does that mean actually for you?
Yeah. So for me, empathy, to use kind of the worn out slogan, it's being able to walk in someone else's shoes. It's the best way to describe it. Or being able to imagine that you're walking the same path that they're on, even though you're not on it. It's about this understanding that you may not be on their journey, but you are open and willing to accept and to try to understand what they might be experiencing and feeling, right? So it's also connected to that phrase, you don't know what someone's going through until you've walked so many miles in their
Right.
shoes. Or so it's the empathetic understanding of autism is about this, my deep rooted belief that if we are going to transform as a society and as a world that is more accepting of all individuals, that we need to practice more empathy. We need to practice the art of letting go of sharing my story when someone is trying to share their own story, trying to trump them with, well, I did it this way, right? Kind of saying I did it a little bit better, or trying to say, things like, well, just because trying to diminish the conversation by taking away from it, by saying, oh, it's really not that bad, or what you're experiencing is so much better than what happened, here in my life. Uh, it's about letting go of all that, and looking at the person, at all people, for who they are and what they have to offer in the world. And it's an approach that I believe can help transform the way we interact in this world, and the way that truly I, I truly believe it's one of the pieces to making our world a better place.
I agree. And you raise so many just good practices and rules of thumb, like just generally speaking, it doesn't have to be applied to autism. So this journey, you have a son that's autistic. What's been the hardest part about the autism journey for you, and what has been the best part?
Oh, such a good question. And for our listeners, Jason did not send these to me in advance. So this is truly like
Really unscripted.
truly unscripted. Well, if you wanted to read about it in my book, because I happen to have it close by, you could. The Clouds That Chase Us: A Journey into Autism. This was my my mom memoir of my understanding of the journey, my understanding of what autism is. Because when I started this journey, I had no idea. I only had the idea of what it was to educate kids, and to make sure they were doing their work and going to school every day, because that's the work I do as a school administrator, is engaging them in learning.
Yeah.
However, my son engages in learning and in life in such a unique way, and I had this expectation of what I expected would be happening at this point in my life, which hasn't been the case at all. Instead, my son has been my greatest teacher. I think some of the most difficult parts, but also the parts that have made me the most resilient, are that I am a single mom, and there are moments where I feel like I don't know how to respond, and I feel like the way I'm responding is actually harming, or making the situation worse. And so there are times when I'm like, oh, why is this so hard? Like, why can't I comfort him right now? Or why can't I provide that calm that he needs? So I think that's that piece right there. That's the toughest piece for me, is I can't always do it. And so with that shift has also been the recognition that you're right, I can't always do it, because this is his journey too. And part of his journey is understanding how he is going to interface with the world, and how he is going to respond, and being open to that experience with him. There are so many beautiful things that I could talk about. One of my favorite parts of my son is that he's a tinkerer and a builder. The kid can put together puzzles and Legos and engines at a rate and a pace that I certainly couldn't, because it's not how my brain functions. And when he gets into that zone, it's like watching someone be in truly their happy place, and that is his happy place. I would say one of the other beautiful parts of this parenting journey is that my daughter, who is neurotypical, has such compassion and such empathy for such a young age. She's 8 years old, and this girl has so much more heart and compassion for her brother than I did as a 20-something-year-old for my own sibling. And I love my sister to pieces, but it took me quite a while to get there, right? But there are things that I watch her do, like we'll go and, at ballet lessons, which I have to drag him to, and we sit there and watch her. At the end of the lesson, she'll get a lollipop, but she'll always ask for 2 lollipops. And one of the lollipops is for herself, and the other one is always for her brother. And so small things like that are what touch my heart, and that, I'm raising this strong, beautiful girl, but I'm also raising someone who has this heart and this compassion for all individuals. And so that's one of the most beautiful parts of this parenting journey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always known you to be a nurturing, inviting, welcoming person. Where does that come from?
Man, it's from my mom. My own mom is
Your mom, what is it? How did that come through from your mom to you?
Through modeling and through, growing up. I used to always get so annoyed when on Saturdays or whatever night it was, like she volunteered to take dinner to someone. And I was like, seriously? Like, tonight is 1:0 night. Are you kidding me? I have no time for this. But through that modeling and bringing me on that journey with her and watching how she interacted with individuals who just needed something,
Yeah.
and she had that to offer. And so that was something that I didn't have a choice in as a child and a teenager. And honestly, I didn't really like it as a child and a teenager. It totally got in the way of my social life, but it has shaped me, and I appreciate that, because being able to give and being able to support in ways that that you can, that's what makes me feel whole.
What's on the horizon for Amanda Irtz?
What is on the horizon? Ooh. There are some things on the horizon. I'm continuing to push out some fantastic episodes with the Empathy, Joy, and Autism podcast. There's some writing going on in the
Oh, yeah?
background. Yeah, there's
What
nothing.
kind of writing are we doing?
It's a secret still.
Okay.
Can't disclose. Um, and there's some exciting, there's an exciting product that's going to be launched here this summer.
Cool.
That's connected to how we talk about emotions with our kids, and that emotions are all good, even the angry and sad emotion. They're all emotions. It's just the way that we show them to the world that can be the good or the bad way. And so really focusing on a way to raise a more emotionally intelligent generation, so that we have a more empathic generation as we move forward in this world. So stay tuned. More to come on that.
Awesome. So let's play Mythbuster here for a second.
Okay.
So, what is there something about autism that you see still prevalent that is a misconception? What is it, and can you bust that myth?
Ooh, yes. Whenever most people that not most, some people that I interact with think that autism is all about Rain Man.
It's all about what?
Rain Man, the movie.
Like the movie?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, he may have been on the spectrum, or his character may have been on the spectrum, but that is not all that autism is.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest myths that I want to bust, because there are some individuals on the spectrum who are really social, and who have learned how to have relationships and really strong partnerships with people. So it's not just that image that was portrayed.
Yeah, that's a good one. So this is our last question, and I usually ask this question of all my guests. What would you tell your 21-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
What would I tell my 21-year-old self? Okay. High heels are a little overrated.
I mean, are they though? They look pretty good.
But wedges, the nice wedge, it's okay. You can still wear those, and wearing high heels every day, it's gonna catch up with you a little bit later. No, really, I think that what would I tell myself? I would tell myself to worry less about what other people think, and worry more about what I know to be true in my heart, and because my heart is my guiding light. It's my compass. It's the way that I engage with the world, right? And um, that is the most important thing. If I'm authentic every day with myself, and I'm authentic with my kids every day, and I'm authentic with my students and my colleagues, then that's truly what matters. And to respond less with fear, meaning I'm fearful of how someone is going to react or respond, or I'm
Yeah.
fearful of what someone might say to what I think. Get rid of that, right? They don't,
Totally.
they don't like that. Yeah. Phew, tough luck. You don't like it. And if you're, get rid
Get
of it.
out of here.
Yeah. And have fun with your high heels. But wear them out dancing. But you don't have to work in those things.
Yeah. Amanda, it's so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for spending about 20 minutes with me, with all of us, sharing a little bit about your story, opening up your heart, and sharing your journey. It's been so great to hear and learn more from you. If you'd like to connect with Amanda or learn more about her work, please visit www.autismaptitude.com. Did I get that right?
You sure did.
All right, www.autismaptitude.com. Thank you all for tuning in, and till next time. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Jason.